I'm a teacher and I am taking your favorite MMOs to school. Welcome to my series, MMOs for Mental Health. I am going to be grading your favorite MMORPGs based on how beginner friendly they are and on how mental health friendly they are. What is up, my friends? Welcome in if you're new and welcome back if you're not. I'm Glow, English teacher by day, mental health gamer by night. I play a variety of different MMOs to help you know which ones are the best for your mental health. So let's get to class. Welcome to the Caps Lock Institute for Wellness and General Fuckery. Let's talk about how we will be evaluating our students. So here's the deal. I am playing each game for 20 hours. It is up to me what I do with that time, but I am trying to get the most authentic beginner experience of the game that I can. I will be researching the classes and subclasses before starting the game, but any character customization counts towards gameplay. When it comes to the report card, we've got 9 primary categories plus 1 extra credit slot. Extra credit will be awarded at my discretion when I think a game does something really well that's not listed on the report card. The grading scale is probably familiar to a lot of you with the addition of the top grade, G. A G means the game did this almost perfectly. The scale goes down from there all the way to an F. Fucking awful. That means they completely failed in this category. Each letter grade is awarded a number score, 6 for G, 5 for A, 4 for B, and so on. And in order to pass the Caps Lock Institute and graduate, the game must have a B or a 4, average or higher. Now that that is taken care of, it is time to get to our very first student of the Institute, Lost Ark. We did grade this live on stream, so that is what we'll be taking a look at today. I do stream every Sunday and Wednesday, so come hang out with us and you can catch the series live. So without further ado, let's start grading Lost Ark. We're starting with Character Builder. For Lost Ark, I am going to give it a C on Character Builder. So if we look at our grading scale, it could be better. It could be better. My biggest complaint, number one complaint, I talked about this last time, number one complaint with Lost Ark's Character Builder, classes are gender locked. If you want to play a specific class, you do not get to choose what that character looks like. It is a boy or a girl based on the subclass. Some classes are completely female. Some classes, actually, I don't think there's any completely male classes anymore. But gender locked classes is dumb. It's so dumb, John. I agree. The classes are gender locked. You also can't change the body type of your character. It does not matter what class you pick, what subclass you pick. They have one body type. You're either going to be a buff ass man or a scrawny lady. Those are your options. So we are getting a C, could be better. I'm not giving it a D or an F just because there are a lot of customization options. You can change a lot about your face, a lot about your hair color. And I do think that that's still a good amount of customization, just not enough. Accessibility options. I'm giving Lost Ark an A for this. Lost Ark has a lot of different accessibility options. They even start every time you launch the game, it gives you reminders about some of the accessibility options. So you get the photosensitivity warning. They tell you like, hey, yo, if you have issues with flashing lights and loud sounds, you need to change this. They give you that warning. It's also really easy to change the settings. There's colorblind settings. You can change the color of your cursor. You can change basically any accessibility options in the game. They have controller support if you set it up right. So it's nice. All right, community toxicity. Lost Ark, I'm giving a B for this, okay? Lost Ark gets a B because in the beginning of Lost Ark, so in these first 20 hours, you don't encounter a lot of community, especially nowadays with the power passes, with the jumpstart servers. There's not a lot of people in the early game. And I actually think that that is detrimental to brand new players who want to go through the story. I do think that they could do better here, that as a community, there could be more community in the early game. Now, if you use the power passes, if you use the jumpstart, obviously there is a little bit more community, and then you can also get into more community toxicity depending on the people you're raiding with. In general, I do find the Lost Ark community helpful. And people are usually willing to chat. Obviously, if you join a guild, that helps, but you barely, in these first 20 hours, you barely have time to be in a guild. Like, I just got into the guild. I could join a guild, I think, 2 streams ago, and I just joined a guild last stream. I feel like that would be lower if you got into raids during that time. I agree. I do think it would be lower if I got into raids. But I'm doing it based off of the first 20 hours starting from the beginning, right? And so I'm giving it a B. All right, straightforward mechanics. I'm giving it a B on this one as well. So Lost Ark, I think for an MMO, Lost Ark actually has a really clean interface, okay? There's not a bunch of skill bars that you have to keep track of. You can have multiple like item bars and action bars, but you have a set number of skills that you can have. That's it. You can have Q, W, E, R, S, A, S, D, F. And then you have your awakening skill, right? And then I have Z as a blade dancer. There's not a ton of options there. And so that's actually why I'm giving it a B, is because you really have to look into the skills. Like, you have to look at what your skills are, figure out which keys you want to put them on. That's why it doesn't get higher, is because there's a lot of work that goes into putting them. I do like that they now have the recommended skills. So you can just click that button and it puts them down there. But if you really want to pay attention and like customize your character, you're going to have to spend some time looking into them. I'm not giving it a lower score, because again, you have that one skill bar. And I think that is good. I personally prefer having one skill bar over multiple skill bars that I have to cycle through and look at, and it really clogs up the UI. I do like the one skill bar. Low stake consequences. For a beginner, right? I'm doing this for a beginner. I'm giving it a G. This is Glow's grades. This is the highest it can get, all right? This is the absolute highest it can get. I think Lost Ark does a really good job with making the consequences in early game as low stakes as possible. You get tons of potions. You get, like, there's lots of places for you to manage your inventory. There's lots of places for you to buy potions. None of the people that you encounter, none of the demons that you encounter generally in the world are going to be too difficult for any beginner to fight. You can happen upon a world boss, all right? You can happen upon a world boss on accident, and that can be really difficult. But I don't think most beginners are going to sit there and try to fight that world boss alone, right? Again, early game, there's not a lot of people there. So if you want to fight a world boss, you're doing it alone. Another thing that I think makes it really great is you do have the options of how difficult you want to do the dungeon. So when you're doing the story mode dungeons, you have normal mode and you have hard mode. And obviously hard mode, you're going to get better gear with that. But if you just want an easy breezy game, if you are at high enough item level, you can breeze through those normal modes. And even if you die in the dungeon, you get, I think I had like 150, I don't remember what they call them in Lost Ark. I just call them Phoenix Downs, right? Let's call them revives. I think I had 150 revives that I got in the first 20 hours of this game. Like, you can use those. You can revive in the middle of a dungeon right where you were. And if you don't revive there, it's just going to put you back like one checkpoint earlier. So I do think they do a really good job with the low stakes consequences in early game. I do think that is good for them. Maintaining interest. Again, this is the most biased one here. Fucking G, my guy. I am never bored when I'm playing Lost Ark. There is so much to do in Lost Ark that I find a hard time, like, not finding something to do, not feeling entertained, not enjoying myself. Like, there's the story quests, obviously. There's the side quests. There's the collectibles. There's just so much for you to do. You can romance characters. I feel like no matter the play style, there is something that can interest you in Lost Ark. Sometimes, like, you might have to find it, and sometimes you might have to work to it. In just these first 20 hours, we had main story quest, we had collecting Makoko seeds, we had the side quests, we had building rapport. Okay? all of that can keep you interested. I think that's a really good amount of action of things for the game to offer, especially for new players. Once you get to later levels, I think it increases the ability to increase your interest and hold your interest as you get into, like, I fucking love the chaos dungeons. I'll do a chaos dungeon all fucking day. When you get into the guardian raids, that's also something else for you. There's the dailies. I know some people don't like dailies, but they can still be really interesting. I like doing the dailies because, like, I got a ship out of a daily. Like, I was working for this ship. Like, you have things to work towards. And for me, that is maintaining interest. Personally, low grindability. I am... this one's really hard for me. For these first 20 hours, I do think this gets much worse later in the game, personally. If we played more of this, it would get an F, like, no lie. But for these first 20 hours, as a beginner game, I'm going to give it a B. So there are certain parts of the game. So when you want to do a dungeon, right, you have to have a certain item level. And if you're fighting all of the little monsters in the fields, you are going to have that item level, no problem, right? You're going to pick up those items. You're going to be fine. But if you're skipping them, if you're just trying to do the quests, you're not going to be a high enough item level, and you're going to have to go back and fight those monsters. Related to that, same thing, like when you want to join a guild. So some guilds are going to require specific item levels. And if you want to join an active guild, they're probably going to have some sort of level required, and that requires grinding. It's not necessary, right, to succeed at the game, except for getting into the dungeons. But, like, it's pretty badass. It's fine. It's still a good grade, right? I think the low grindability is a good thing. I think it is a perk of Lost Ark, but I think it could be better early game. And then we come to manageable difficulty. Obviously, we talked about this a little bit with low stakes consequences. The difficulty, I think, is very manageable in Lost Ark. You can choose how difficult your dungeons are when you're doing early game, when you're doing story mode dungeons. And the difficulty of Lost Ark early game, just going through the story, is not hard, especially if you choose a class that really jives with your play style. You're not going to have a hard time playing Lost Ark. You're not going to have a hard time succeeding and killing things. Like, my character, I am just doing recommended stats. I didn't, like, research anything. I didn't look into the best builds. I just did exactly what the game recommended for me, and I was so overpowered. Like, I'm killing bitches with one fucking attack, right? Even, like, really, like, multiple health bar monsters, I'm killing with one attack. And not even, like, my mega attack, right? I don't remember what they call it. My Z on my Deathblade. And I don't even have an awakening skill yet. So, like, I'm still doing well, and it's still easy. Parts could be easier, right? Like, sometimes, like, you get stuck in a horde of demons, and it's like, ah! That's why it's not a G, but still pretty good. Soundtrack for Lost Ark. Soundtrack for Lost Ark, I unfortunately have to give a C. We don't get a ton of, like, moving music in Lost Ark. There's not even a ton of background music to begin with. Like, when you're just wandering through the world, I wish there was something there. There's nothing there. And it gets kind of, like, awkwardly quiet. And then sometimes when there's music, like, it's overly dramatic. You know what? In fact, that makes me, I lied. I'm taking it down a peg. We're giving it a D. I changed my mind. I changed my mind. It's a D. There's not enough music in Lost Ark, and the music that there is oftentimes too intense for what's happening. There are really cool songs you can have, like, on your loading screen and stuff that are really nice, and I wish that those were more incorporated into the actual gameplay. I wish there was music for, like, different parts of the world that maybe you could turn off. Like, if you're wandering through Lutera Castle, I wish there was just, like, a little theme in the background, you know? Something to, like, help you immerse into the world more, and also something better than just, like, the sounds of rushing water. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to piss every time that I head to Lutera Castle. It just is, it is the way it is. And then extra credit. So, not every student is going to get extra credit. All right, so this is here. It's extra, right? It's bonus. We know it's coming. We all know it's coming. We know that Lost Ark is getting extra credit. You know what? I'm sorry. I got to do it. And again, extra credit, it's going to be biased. It's going to be like my personal opinions, right? The collectibles, man. I fucking love a collectible. You're going to get a high score because of Makokos. You're right. You're right. Not just the Makokos, but they are a part of it. The collectibles in Lost Ark are so good. You have the Makoko seeds, and a lot of them are so easy to find, and you get like a nice little reward when you find them. It just feels good. You find them, it's so fun. Like, oh, I found it, good. Like, you get to see how many there are and how many you found, and it just feels like a good challenge. And I love a collectible. There's also the masterpieces. Like, you can find masterpieces just doing quests and doing other, like just exploring around. Like, you might find one on the ground. You might find one like hanging up somewhere. Like, you find these masterpieces and you unlock actual artwork in the game, which is really cool. The world leafs, we didn't see too much of in my playthrough. We kind of just started to unlock it. You get the world leafs through doing foraging. So if you're foraging, if you're mining, if you're chopping down trees, you gain world leafs by doing that. And then with those world leafs, you can use those. They're like a currency. You can get things for those. And then another thing that we saw but never actually got to use, I think they're called igneous tokens. So as you complete the Adventurer's Tome, every time you 100% a continent in the Adventurer's Tome, you get one of these tokens. And again, you can use them to buy things from a merchant. And I just think that's a really unique way to tie in the collectibles and like people who just like to find. I love to find shit. It's like an Easter egg hunt every day in Lost Ark. If you like to do that, there's so many different variations, and a lot of them can be used as currency, which I think is a really smart way to do it. I think they did a really great job with the collectibles. Not just the Makokos, legitimately. So there we have it. We're going to calculate our total grade in a second. I am going to do, can I do this as a, oh no, I do have to just start typing. So let me put this over here. So I'm like a weird place. So things that we need to work on. We need more variety in the character builder. All right. We need more variety in the character builder. We need more community in early game. Music. Where? All right. And the collectibles are top notch. What else do we think, guys? I think that's good. You know what? I am going to add one more. One action bar. Here we are. So, does Lost Ark pass? If we average up all of those grades, Lost Ark ends up with a 4.5, and that is a B+. That means they pass. Not going to lie, that is lower than I expected, but it is official. Lost Ark passes. There are obviously some things that the game needs to work on to be a better beginner and mental health friendly game. First off, the character builder needs some work. The fact that subclasses are gender locked and the body type isn't customizable at all, ridiculous. Come on, guys. It's 2023. Get it together. Another big issue that I had, especially considering beginners when taking into consideration grading this game, was the lack of community in the early game. I know that the devs have released the Jumpstart servers and the power passes, but as someone who really likes to play through the MSQ, I wish some more experienced players were trying to help the newbies, right? We're hanging out in those early game spaces, doing those dungeons, doing the earlier raids to help people out. Also, where is the music? Why is there almost no ambient background music in Lost Ark? There's no soundtrack, basically at all. Like, you can add music in your stronghold, you can add music in your character server screen, your roster screen. But when you're just wandering around, it's just basically white noise, basically just background noise. There's no really exciting music. I think it would really improve the game and maybe make it better for mental health if there was a good soundtrack. Soundtrack is a big deal to me when picking my favorite mental health friendly games, and Lost Ark is really just lacking in that regard. While there is some room for improvement, obviously Lost Ark did a lot right. I love the simplicity of the action bar. In my opinion, this makes the game a lot easier to learn, and it is a lot more accessible for new players. And of course, the fucking collectibles. Y'all know I am a Makoko girly, but the world leaves, the island souls, the masterpieces, the Ignia tokens. There is no shortage of collectibles in this game. I just love that there are so many different ways to explore and acquire certain items, and for new people to really get involved in the gameplay. Since it is one of my favorite games to play, I am very excited that Lost Ark is our first official graduate from the Institute. I asked my followers on Twitter to vote for which MMO we should play next, and it should come as no surprise to any of the MMO familiar folks in the crowd that they voted for critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV. Is there still the free trial up till expansion, whatever? I guess we'll find out. Let me know in the comments what grade you think it's going to get. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I look forward to hearing all of your thoughts about it. You can leave your thoughts in the comments below, or you can send me an email, and I will see you guys on stream or in the next video.